Welcome to Talking Mixed Ability, the world's first podcast that explores breaking down barriers to maintain sport through the mixed ability model. I'm Vic, and today we're going to go behind the scenes to speak to founders, organisers, players, and families to understand the power of sports in changing the world. So in this first episode, the founding fathers, Mark and Martino, join me. So, introduce yourselves, Mark.
Hi, my name's Mark Goodwin. I'm a director and co-founder of International Mixed Ability Sports.
And my name is Martino, Corazza, and I'm the other co-founder and co-director of Mixed Ability Sports.
Amazing. So, mixed ability sports. What does that mean? What is it?
Well, I think if you think about sports, we take it for granted that it's for everyone, that you can just turn up to your local club and play whatever your sport is, and that's not exactly the case. As we found in our professional career, so we were supporting people who had this kind of dream of being involved in kind of local and community sports, and they were prevented from doing it just because they didn't have the chance, or they had some barriers or a disability. But that was their aspiration. That's what they wanted to do. So Mixed Ability tried to remove these barriers and to build a kind of equal playing field for everyone, really.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I guess we should, if we take the story right back to the beginning, the whole concept of this for me started in education. So I worked in social care for 20 plus years, and when I moved on to become a teacher. I stayed with the same concept and worked with people with learning disabilities predominantly, people with neurodiverse conditions, and we worked towards actually achieving realistic goals through education. But the students were setting their own targets, and almost 13 years ago now, I had an adult student who said he wanted to play rugby. He didn't want to be signposted to disability rugby despite having cerebral palsy and a learning disability. He rejected the whole concept of being labelled and pushed into a sort of separate sport, and he wanted to play the sport that he'd watched every week. And I think the beginnings of IMAS came from him, really, and this idea of why not make it so that people can go and participate, whatever their barriers to participation are, in their most local community clubs.
And how about you? How did you get into it, Martino?
We have very similar stories. I mean, I'll skip the bit about selling wine because probably it's not totally on target, but it's true.
We both sold wine in our careers.
And it was all perfectly legal. I mean, we're not talking about smuggling that across the border, but it was very much. I was working in schools, so in Italy we don't have mainstream, we don't have special education schools, so everyone has to be included in mainstream settings. And also rugby is my sport. I always played rugby. And we realized, supporting people who had a disability, that the only very effective hours were the P hours. So where actually, it doesn't really matter what your level of ability is, but you just can interact as normal, calling yourself by your name and just try to achieve your best, your potential. But there were just 2 hours a week. And so what we tried to do was to create a sort of pathway from, the classroom to the club. And we had this ethos that, rugby is inclusive, so we should actually make it real. And we didn't really know what we were doing, so we tried to find other projects across Europe that were doing maybe something similar. And one in Wales came up, and then another one in England. So, we linked up and we started to, exchange ideas, emails and everything, and applied for some European funding to go to England for a kind of academic year. And then I was just so fascinated by Bradford and its stunning beauty that I never went back. So that's my story.
It's amazing, actually, that Bradford can capture people from Turin just at the drop of a hat. I'm surprised we're not overrun with ice cream sellers.
So you've made a big move, and it's obviously an incredible cause. So what does it mean to you personally, IMAS and all the hard work that you're putting into it?
Is a very difficult one because I think we are not very good at celebrating, at reflecting on that. I mean, the last probably 10 years have been quite momentous in the sense, things have happened and got bigger, and we rarely pause and think about that. But I think
we focus on the everyday, and the everyday is often a difficult journey because people are established, sports are established, disability provision is very established. So actually changing that and moving that, just making that concept a priority for people, that, you know, we needn't divide people up. We can work together and play together and play sports and do activities together. That's been a hard drive. And also, I mean, let's be honest, it's not just that. It's survival and making a living out of that. And Martino and I worked for a long time, just for the love of the idea, and kind of, you know, we put many hours of the week in there for years and years without any kind of recompense. And it's now we're more established, and it's still a struggle to find funding. But I think the idea is beginning to take off in the world, and that's been highlighted here this weekend.
Yeah, but if I can add something, I think is very important to recognize that, you know, you can change someone's life, but still there are thousands that are left behind. Yeah. So I think it's very difficult to celebrate. I mean, yes, because we should be all kind of recognizing the impact, but still, we were talking to some guys from Ecuador before, and you know, they said we are in a third world, and yet what they're doing is absolutely inspirational in the sense, you know, there are many local authorities across Europe that should learn from what they're doing. So how can we keep pushing it forward until everyone is there? So it's almost like you can't stop until you get there and everyone is on board. So I think mixability is that kind of aspiration, and you have to carry that every day with you in the sense, you know, okay, take it day by day, change, you know, one gate at a time, one person at a time. But I think that's our ethos. And
our ultimate concept is for mixability to become the norm, so that there is no separation, and that people, it wouldn't matter if you started any kind of new activity, whether it was a faith activity or a dance club or whatever it was, that when you said that this is a mixed ability activity, that literally means that anybody can walk through the door and be welcomed, and that everybody understands that message, so that if that door's got mixed ability signposted on it, they know they can walk in there.
Absolutely, and it shouldn't just be a dream, should it? It absolutely needs to become a reality. But you do need to take time to pause and acknowledge the fantastic work that you've both done. And how does it feel like to be here at IMA this week and actually see some of the stuff that you've accomplished and be part of this incredible event?
I think it's still a bit kind of dreamlike, in the sense that we were talking to someone the other day who got involved at a very early stage with IMAS, and they put us in front of a panel, and it was a kind of, you know, funders, and they said, yeah, we like the idea, and this tournament idea is great, but it's never going to happen. But yeah, you know, we'll give you the money because it's the best idea. And it feels like, you know, Bradford was like some kind of extravaganza, you know, something that happened by coincidence. And yet, 7 years afterwards, we are here with, you know, 1,100 players, and we have, you know, the endorsement from the UNESCO and support the European Commission, and the Taoiseach coming, so the Prime Minister in Ireland coming, and but yeah, this is all kind of collateral, I guess. You know, what was really important is that we had new teams. We had teams from Canada, we had teams from Chile, from Ecuador coming and enjoying it. So I think that's when it becomes real, when people said, oh, you know, we've written thousands of emails, we spoke, you know, via WhatsApp message, and now we are here and we can meet each other, hug, and look, these are the guys, and this is the first time they go and travel outside the countries, and this is not for any kind of other reason, but it's for the tournament that, you know, we created. So that makes it quite emotional and real, yeah.
And for me, it's been the process of building the teams, the champions, and the drivers who've brought teams over. So their managers, the coaches, all of those people have given up their time because they've bought into the mixed ability dream. The organisers over here in Ireland have been incredible, and they haven't done that for any kind of reward. They've done it for the love of mixed ability, the love of putting on something that's super special, and it grows and grows, and we just see more and more enthusiasm from people to make changes in the world. And you know, here this is kind of encompasses that whole dream really, and we just want to see that snowball and get bigger and bigger.
Amazing. So you've kind of like answered my question a little bit, but what does the future hold for IMAS?
I don't know, a bit like McDonald's, who are going to be able, no. I think it's very interesting because, you know, we do are a not-for-profit organization, so we are a social enterprise, and yet when you talk about, you know, usually social work, you talk about, you know, almost charity, and we think that's not fair in terms of the guys who work with us, you know, the expert by experience are experts, and, you know, whatever work they do in co-production, in promoting it, and in creating other champions should be, you know, remunerated like because they are. If you go to the dentist, you pay for it. I mean, why shouldn't you pay for a good social project? But it's all about partnership work. So we are a small organization, but you know, we are great, outstanding partnerships. You know, the work that we do in Canada is through partnership. The work that we're going to do in Ecuador and Argentina is through partnership with Ireland in Ireland. So for us, I think the future is to be like the connectors, the facilitators, a kind of global network that want to exchange good practice, learning, and change the society. You know, because I think what one of our great non-executive directors says, you know, is you understand things, and it all is very rational. So exclusion and discrimination is rational, but then the indignation comes from your heart. You know, then you say, why is this happening? How can we change things? But until it reaches your hands and your feet, when you start doing something, that's when you make change happen. And I think we want more people, you know, to get their hands dirty and to walk the walk. And I think, you know, that could be a club, that could be a federation, that could be a national government, whatever. I think IMAS has to be there to help them.
And just to clarify, when we talk about our experts by experience, they tend to be sportsmen and women, ordinary community sportsmen and women who've got disabilities, who've faced serious barriers to being involved in community clubs and community sports. They're now educators, so they're going out and they're working for IMAS, so that a spin-off of kind of the involvement in sporting activities has been employment. And we want to be able to continue that and to build on that and to see a more equal world through mixed ability. It's been almost an accidental find that we can do that, and that we can get people out there working and changing the National Health Service, making changes to community clubs, and going in and educating schools and colleges about how to integrate society.
And have a career, because, you know, sometimes we talk about employment for disabled people, but we don't talk about careers, the possibility to actually build in and according to your aspiration and everything. That's very important. So I think we want to impact that as well and recognize that people have aspiration and it's right to achieve them.
Amazing. So finally, for those people who want to partner with you, get their hands dirty, as you said, Martino, how do they get in contact with you? How can they make that difference and become part of IMAS?
Oh, I think the easiest way is probably to use the Google search engine or any other search engine and just type in international mixed ability sports. There'll be a contact button at the bottom of there.
We do are on social media, so Facebook, internet, Instagram. We're not on TikTok yet, but I mean, just because they're for a different generation, but we yeah, that's next.
We're working with a young organisation who might teach us how to be on TikTok.
Yeah, we're not very good with videos, I mean, of dancing. So
I've got a face for radio, personally.
So the next steps is going to be a video of you two dancing on TikTok. Is that what we're saying?
Friday night, yeah. That's at the end of the ceremony.
Amazing. Well, Martino, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for talking to me.